Demon in the Freezer is a short 2016 documentary by renowned director Errol Morris. It is an op-doc shown in the New York Times Magazine, online. Morris has a very distinctive style of documentary. He is an independent director with very innovative techniques. This documentary is based on the 2002 novel of the same name by Richard Preston. It is about the disease smallpox and the dispute on whether or not the last of it should be destroyed or kept for very controversial purposes. This documentary uses a compilation of participatory and expository modes, as well as a minimal use of poetic mode as well. It shows these modes through a range of styles and forms, which are unique to the director. The participatory mode aspect of this documentary is shown in the use of interviews with several subjects in which Morris's voice can be heard off camera. Morris's interviews bring the viewer through a story, slowly developing their understanding of the topic through the actions and beliefs of the interviewees' discussions. Morris is renowned for his unique interviewing technique, which he uses in the creation of most of his documentaries, including Demon in the Freezer. The technique uses technology of his own innovation, the interrotron. The interrotron alters the traditional form of interview, where the interviewee either looks at the camera or the interviewer. The interrotron combines these by using a teleprompter as a two-way mirror-like mechanism, allowing the interviewer to look at the interviewee through the camera lens and vice versa. This allows for a more intimate experience, as it is a violation of disbelief, creating the illusion that the interviewee is speaking directly to the viewer, while also interacting with the filmmaker. The questions, how many virus particles does it need to kill you? And the question, but you still had to kill the animal, are two examples of Morris's provocative questioning style. This form of interview nearly becomes more of an expository mode than participatory though, as the interviewer is still off-screen, with a nearly omniscient voice asking the questions. The mise-en-scène in the interviews is simply a dark and simple background to draw a focus to the person speaking in a serious way. Participatory mode is used in the way that Morris asks provoking questions to receive the most interesting or robust answers from his subjects. The documentary is also somewhat continuous as the interviewees speak of their experiences in a linear fashion. Morris shows this by displaying the year across the screen of which the occurrence they speak about takes place. Expository mode is used in this documentary through narration and the gathering of footage to complement this narration. Morris has used narration by cutting from the footage of the interviews while keeping the sound as overlay, as well as using his own voice briefly to introduce the smallpox documentary at the smallpox disease at the beginning of the documentary. Images of articles on the subjects being spoken about in the interviews were used to show that the topics were well known and controversial before this documentary was made. The articles were opinion pieces speaking of the subject of destroying the smallpox disease. These articles showed a clear bias that the disease not being destroyed was seen as negative to the general populace, and thus carried that opinion to the viewer. This caused the interviewee's opinions to seem more inclined to this than it may have been alone. Poetic mode is brought in through the use of artistic footage behind the narration from the interview. These images do connect to what the narration is explaining, but in a more abstract than factual way. An example is when the interviewee, Lisa Hensley, is explaining the liquid nitrogen freezers, and the film shows a reenactment in an artistic representation through moving images of the nitrogen fog, overlaid with a large eye. In this scene, sound effects are also added to enhance what she is talking about. When breathing is mentioned, the sound of someone inhaling can be heard, and then when she mentions unlocking the door, the sound of a key and a lock is implemented. This use of poetic mode makes the scene more visually appealing, and this in turn creates more of an impact on the viewer, demonstrating otherwise bland in comparison activity in a captivating way. Another aspect of poetic mode has been produced through the use of mise-en-scène toward the beginning of the documentary, when stock footage is displayed on a retro television. This retro television and the floral wallpaper behind it creates a homely style of mise-en-scène and matches the time frame with which the footage was taken from. This makes it a poetic, as it is very focused on visuals to support the informational content and not just focused on fact. Overall, Errol Morris has created a great documentary which represents a clear argument from several angles using both factual and fictional footage. It does not try to persuade the viewer as much as simply make them think.